Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Well, after something like 8 months of waiting, finally we have some new Star Trek content on our TVs. It was way back in January, the Star Trek Discovery Season 3 ended, and now we have Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2 finally arrived on our TVs. And it was a nice start to the new season, Season 2. We had quite a few harkbacks to previous Star Trek incarnations. This episode I thought was quite a bit of a spin on the classic Trek episodes such as Who Mourns for Adonis and also Where No Man Has Gone Before. Those sort of episodes of TOS where there was like a person who was transformed into a god and had godlike powers and had a grasp on the ship and they kind of couldn't get away. We definitely saw that in Ransom's activities in this episode, and it was a fun first episode of the new season. One thing I liked about this episode was the way it started. It started with a bang. We had the whole escape sequence with Mariner breaking out of the Cardassian prison with the stereotypical interrogation chair with the 4 lights like we saw in the Next Generation episode Chain of Command where, you know, Picard was screaming about how many lights there were. And we had a good little escape sequence there with her Cardassian captors, and it's not too long into that sequence we realised that this is in fact a holodeck program that Mariner's using for a bit of exercise and a bit of kind of weird relaxation and so forth. So she's kind of trying to keep fit by busting out of some Cardassian prison. But we had some cool little looks at the not only the Cardassian base she escaped from, obviously production design mirrored the episode that Picard was captured in Chain of Command, but we also had that old Miranda-class starship that she escaped the Cardassian prison on, which they did a really good job, I thought, of to replicate the exact look of that right down to the chairs and everything from the old Star Trek II Wrath of Khan set, I suppose. So that was kind of a nice little attention to detail. We obviously bounced around in this episode between Tandy trying to kind of cure Rutherford, because obviously at the end of Season 1 he had his whole implant ripped out and everything, and she's sort of worried that he won't be friends with her anymore sort of thing, because there was a bit of a concern about that at the end of the first season where he had a bit of memory loss and everything, and she's sort of paranoid that he's crippled with some sort of condition that's going to stop them being friends anymore. So she's kind of running around the ship trying to hypo-spray him and blast him with all various different types of treatment to make sure that she won't be forgotten. Meanwhile, we kind of see a development of the relationship between Freeman and Mariner, where Mum's kind of given daughter a little bit more latitude to kind of do her own thing and have her own sort of say on how things are done on various different away missions, which seems to be working okay until Mariner starts to clean off some grime and soot and everything off an old obelisk artifact in this away mission that Ransom's in charge of, and then that turns him into some sort of godlike being where he kind of starts to take over the planet and terraform it or whatever into some sort of race of gym junkie-esque people that are only concerned about working on their guns and abs and you know what, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was a bit of fun this episode. Probably not a truckload of laugh out loud moments. I think there's a few episodes in Season 1 I can think of where I laughed out loud more in, but I think it was still a good opening to the season. Going back to episodes, as I said, like from the original series, like Where No Man Has Gone Before and Who Mourns for Adonis, where we had big omnipotent, godlike powers that were grabbing onto the Enterprise and holding it with giant sort of space hands in orbit and everything. There was definitely a lot of parallels and similarities there they've taken inspiration of for this episode, which was kind of fun. We even had a reference to the Where No Man Has Gone Before episode with Gary Marshall. We had Freeman looking at this whole bio and details of what happened back on the original Enterprise and how that was dealt with. And I think there was some reference to how did Kirk kill him by dropping a boulder on him. And then obviously at the end of this episode, we see Dr. Ta'ana driving a forklift, dropping a big boulder on Ransom in order to break him free of the spell he was kind of trapped in. So there were some nice little parallel moments and little references back to that original series episode, which was fun. One thing I thought about this episode was the interesting dynamic because of the absence of Boimler. Boimler's off on the USS Titan doing stuff over there, which we didn't kind of get a glimpse of right until the very end of this episode. And it was sort of interesting, I thought. We kind of had the dynamic between Tendi and Rutherford, which we tended to get quite a bit through season 1. It tended to be either the Tendi-Rutherford show or the Boimler-Mariner show. So there was a little bit of an absence, I felt, there, without having Boimler and Mariner to kind of bounce off each other, apart from that one moment at the start with the opening sequence in the Cardassian prison, where obviously Boimler turned out to be a hologram, but still there was a couple of, a bit of bouncing back and forth. And that was probably the one thing we didn't get in this episode because of Boimler's absence. We tended to get more of the animosity or the rivalry between Freeman and Mariner, the whole mother-daughter rivalry stuff, how that was kind of manifesting in this episode. But we did get a good look at what Boimler has been up to on the USS Titan. He's off charging through the galaxy, being pursued by pack-led ships. We've got obviously Riker in command, screaming red alert. We've got them going through giant space anomalies and distortion fields and all this sort of stuff. So it certainly looks like the pace of life on the Titan is perhaps a little bit more fast-paced than what Boimler maybe had thought it could be. As they say, be careful what you wish for, because Boimler's now getting a full-on taste of what it's like being in one of the more upper priority ships within Starfleet and what it gets up to. He's sort of in the past used to sort of second contact level ship activities, and I'm guessing probably Boimler's going to ask for a transfer back, because I'm guessing the pace is probably just going to be a bit too much for him, even though it's kind of what he wanted. Great to see Jonathan Frakes reprising his role as William Riker in the captain's chair on board the USS Titan. We didn't get Deanna Troi in this episode. Maybe we'll get her in episode 2, perhaps make a comment or two, maybe. I'm not sure. But I've only ever seen Riker in the promo stuff for this season, so maybe it's probably just going to be Riker, which is still good anyway, because let's face it, it's always fun to see what Riker's up to on board the Titan. And it's even more amusing to see how Boimler is going to fit in with the rest of Riker's crew. All in all, I quite enjoyed this first episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks. I'm looking forward to Season 2. I'm particularly looking forward to, in Season 2, this new head of security that we're going to meet, the Tamarian from the race from the Next Generation episode Darmok. So I'm sure he'll be coming up with lots of unusual references that probably only us hardcore Star Trek fans are going to get. I'm sure he'll have a situation where something will be going on and he'll say something that kind of references a past Star Trek episode. It's going to be a lot of in-jokes, I think, with this new character. So I'm sort of looking forward to seeing the dynamic and how he is going to integrate with the crew, and what sort of, humorous yet sort of dry wit he's going to come out with these sort of obscure references. So I'm really looking forward to that. Guys, let me know what you're looking forward to in Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2. What did you think of Episode 1? Did you enjoy it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Please, guys, if you can, leave a super thanks. It really helps me out. Click that little heart with the dollar sign in it if you're able to support the channel. That would be fantastic. And always, like and comment, share this video with your friends, and also check out my merchandise, where you can pick up some cool Star Trek t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, caps, all that sort of thing. It all helps. And I will see you very soon again for another Star Trek review. Catch you soon.